Okay. We call the meeting of the Board of the Affordable Housing Authority today, March 10th, 4:30. Oh, it's June 30th. 10th, sorry. Wow. Sorry about that. June 10th. Wow. All right, roll call.
Chairman Long?
Yeah.
Vice Chairman Underhill?
Here.
Mr. Burns?
Here.
Mr. Bentley? Present. Mr. Rivera?
Here.
Open meeting law.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The language for the open meeting law is as follows. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made whether perceived or unperceived by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible.
What do you have for citizen input? Resident input?
Just one quick item, as you all know. Oh, I'm sorry. Ed Gagnon, Florida Joint Tenants Council. One quick item. The residents in the Housing Authority attended the Mass Union of Public Housing Conference in Marlborough on the 19th and 20th. And on the 20th, Mass Union attended lobby day at the State House, at which money was additional funding was obtained for the bond bill. On top of that, we'd like to congratulate David as being reappointed as commissioner, that's tomorrow night, as chairman of the Mass Union of Public Housing Tenants for the next 2 years.
Congratulations.
A little early on the other one.
Yes. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
Everybody gone over the minutes? Motion to accept.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of the meeting of May 13th, 2020.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Bills and communication? Everybody reviewed the May 2024 vouchers? You want to go through one at a time?
No, just a
Is there any, I'll entertain a motion to accept.
I'll make a motion to accept the vouchers.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You get the management reports, applications.
just read the,
You get the applications, occupancy report, the tenants' accounts receivable, work order report, monthly Section 8 voucher activity report, monthly personnel account report, Director of Modernization monthly report, bank investment and bond debt balance reports.
Make a motion to accept the reports as a group.
Second. Motion been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
That wasn't me. Just want to go on the record, it's not me.
yep.
Move on to the financial reports for the period ending April 30th, 2024. If nobody has any discussion, I'll take a motion to accept or approve.
Motion to approve the financial reports ending April 30th, 2024.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Update from our executive director.
Thank you, Chairman Long. A few things for this month. I'm happy to report that we hired a plumber effective today. So that took effect today, as I said, and we will still be looking to fill 2 other plumbing positions as well. Resident services, we're continuing on with our spring concerts at our elderly sites for the enjoyment of all of our residents. As I said in the past, Joey De Silva has done a great job coordinating these concerts throughout the Housing Authority. Our REAC inspection. So I failed to mention this last month. We had our first REAC inspection under what is called the NSPIRE quality standards. HUD changed the way they weight REAC inspections for our federal sites. And the feedback we were getting from other housing authorities, other executive directors, is that under these new NSPIRE standards, the scores were coming in low. However, our first one was at Sunset Hill, and we actually scored a 94. So I do want to acknowledge Ed Majewski, Todd, Jason, and the rest of his staff for the work they've done in preparation on that. Tom Cadiga, the site maintenance leader, and his staff did a great job. Katie Roberts, the site manager, and her staff, another one, did a great job. And also Joy Aguiar, one of our inspectors from Section 8, helped out. So, you know, a lot of people, they don't understand the preparation, coordination that goes on behind the scenes in working to prepare for these federal inspections. So I did want to acknowledge all of them for the great job that they did. Again, we scored a 94, which was extremely good. The last thing I have is our financials. We just recently submitted our unaudited version of our budget to HUD in a timely fashion. I want to thank Nella Souza, our finance director, as well as Tim McCoy, our deputy. They worked hard behind the scenes on the weekends with our new fee accountant, Mr. Bob Fetro. So that was submitted again on time. So that's all I have for this month. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody got any questions for the executive director?
I just warned Kevin, is that the highest score Sunset ever got?
If not, it's right up there.
I was going to say, it's usually what, in the 70s, right?
Well, Sunset, we did well the last time. Prior, going back a few years, we weren't doing so well.
Yeah.
But I think the last...
85.
Yeah, 85.
Wow. That's
so we went up
great.
9 points. And part of the changing on the standards is they're putting more weight on things that we can control and less on some of the things that the residents do in their units. Obviously, we're not in a residence unit all the time, but something on the outside where our maintenance staff sees on a daily basis, right, there wouldn't be any excuse to not repair something or mitigate something, so, which makes more sense, you know. So yeah, so our next one should be at Father DeFerrio Village. I have not been informed of a date yet, but Ed, Todd, Jason, they're always proactive and preparing behind the scenes for Father DeFerrio Village when that happens. So,
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Under new business, we talk about modernization. We have a change order number 1 for the elevator modernization, cabs 3 and 4 at Cardinal Maderas Towers. It's a $24,145 increase to the contract, and it also increases the contract by 60 days. The existing is at ATS Gear. Who's got that contract?
Coletta Contracting is the contractor, and the other, the ATS Gear is the part that
Okay.
we needed.
All
So,
right.
yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the change order.
Could I ask a question about this one? So I see that we get a number of change orders that come through on a monthly basis, and many of them, you know, seem pretty average, unforeseen issues or uncontrollable issues. But getting here this evening, I see we had a letter from Arthur Anderson from Socotec. Is that pertaining to this?
Yes, it's the opposite. That's, Socotec is the engineers. They're giving their letter of recommendation to Mr. Anderson.
Right. So on this letter, it states that this scope of the stuff that we're approving was not originally identified. Is that something that that's a bit concerning? You know?
So what happens, Commissioner, especially with elevator projects, because they're anywhere from a year to a year and a half in planning, then construction administration till closeout, the codes change, especially on mechanical things such as elevators. So yeah, when you first read it, it's like, how did they miss it? And, you know, in fairness, engineers, architects do miss things on occasion when they're putting together the documents and the scope of work. I don't think this is the case. I think this was a code change that required this delay switch, so when we're in power mode to generator mode, regular power, it happens. I can't think back accurately to every elevator project we did, but the ones we've done over the years, there's been some significant changes due to change orders.
Okay.
So I don't think it's unreasonable, although it's, you know, $24,000.
Right.
It's
I mean,
a lot of money.
That cost, and then, like I said, when I saw that line on the letter that it wasn't originally included, was that just an oversight, which a $24,000 oversight is not minor, but to your explanation, if it was a change that occurred after the fact from a coding perspective,
Sure.
then I guess
Sure.
I could understand.
No, and I respect that concern. I look at these things and think the same as you do as well. But I do think that this is a fair and accurate change order, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
everything in the elevator industry is ridiculously.
Doesn't go down, it just goes up.
Ah.
I intended that pun.
Commissioner, if I can, the union rate that just the mechanics get is close to $100 an hour, just for a mechanic technician to come in and
Yeah.
work on an elevator.
That was 4 hours. Or something like that.
Yeah.
So I can just tell you that over the past few months, we have been doing mandatory elevator upgrades because of a code change, and it's called the FS90 change. And we have no choice but to do it. And it's costing us per elevator cab $12,500 to get this done. Got 11 buildings on campus. Everyone's got an elevator. Some of them have multiple elevators, and it's unfortunately something you have to do. We didn't, you know, it's just something that got passed. So yes, it's expensive. So our elevator is $405 an hour with a minimum of 4 hours. $405 an hour is what the elevator technician gets.
Well, our contract with the vendor is $275 an hour. That's, you know, overhead and profit, but the actual, on these mod jobs, the rate for the technicians is close to 100, probably over with the complete package, their union package. And unfortunately, it's never an item that you can't go to Home Depot and buy it off the shelf.
It would be worse if you ignored the code change and then your fail inspections, and you don't want to do that. That's just, you know, I'm not.
And I wasn't advocating that. I was
Right,
just
no.
asking, like, is it if it was an oversight, is that acceptable that something could be an oversight to that degree if it was part of the expected work to be done? So that was,
I would think on something like this, as we had at ours, there's nothing wrong with our elevators, but because of the code change, we have to implement before our next inspections, so.
And just one last thing, just so you have an idea of what we go through. A few years back, we had an issue where the elevator wasn't mapping with the fire alarm panel, and we had to pay 24 hours for a technician. I argued with the state inspector, the head of the state inspector, why can't we have the fire department do a fire watch? They have, when there's an issue where they come into a building, the fire department takes complete control of a building, not the elevator company. And they cited the specific paragraph in the code that wouldn't allow me to use the fire department for a fire watch. I had to pay. I think we were paying at that point because it was after normal business hours, 5-something per hour. And they said, we're cutting you a break, we're not charging you for travel.
That was on a Friday afternoon, too.
It ran for about 10 days, 24 hours, we had to pay that.
I'm pretty sure the fire department get less than $500 an hour. I'm not positive,
They're about
but
75 an hour.
yeah.
On that type of.
But it's also important.
So you can put in your next contract.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm always trying. It's important to note that whether it's frustrating or not, all this stuff is usually related to safety, and there's a safety mechanism. And you know, you can be in violation, and we could screw this up, and we can feel embarrassed and all that. But what we're doing is trying to protect. There's a lot of people that use these elevators, and most of the time you can draw a line from a new standard to something that went wrong somewhere else, as frustrating as it can be. So what we're doing is trying to protect the safety of the residents and our staff that are using it, and I agree, it's frustrating, and sometimes they open up an elevator and they see things that they couldn't have seen before, they couldn't have. So it's frustrating, but doing our best to keep people safe.
We have a motion on the floor. I'm looking for a second.
second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Certificate of substantial completion for roof replacement at Elma Corbett Street, 689-1. General contractor, FRG Contractor Corp. substantially completed work on April 30th, 2024. Was this the one that is not contingent upon the approval?
This one is, that's a state.
It is contingent?
Yeah.
Okay, so our approval is contingent upon the final approval of EOHLC. HUD.
I'll make a motion to accept the substantial completion roof replacement at Corbett Street Apartments, contingent upon final approval from EOHLC.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 3 is substantial completion for the facade repairs at Olivera Apartments, general contractor East Coast Masonry and Restoration, Inc., substantially completed work on May 23rd, 2024. Entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Certification for final completion of fire alarm panel replacement at Olivera Apartments. General contractor Sparks Company, Inc. completed all work items, and the final contract amount was $72,483.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Discussions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next item is contract award for roof replacement at Riley Plaza. 5 bids were received and opened on May 23rd, 2024. Award went contract to the low bidder, WPI Construction, Inc., in the amount of $153,000.
I'll make a motion to award the contract to WPI Construction.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ladies, mapping surveying of master meter infrastructure contract. Recommended action. Award contract to the responsive and responsible bidder, Tri-Mount Engineering, for the master meter mapping and survey project in the amount not to exceed $90,000.
Make a motion to award contract to the responsive and responsible bidder, Tri-Mount Engineering, for the master meter mapping and survey project in an amount not to exceed $90,000.
Second.
Motion being seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Operational software contractor. This was permission to advertise for a 5-year contract. The current vendor is PHA WEB.
I'll make a motion to grant permission to advertise for a 5-year contract for operational software.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The VoIP telephone contract, permission to advertise for a 7-year contract. Current vendor is Vertical.
Motion to grant permission to advertise for a 7-year contract. Current vendor is Vertical.
Second.
And seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Duo tokens donation. So discussion and permission to donate Duo tokens to the Falmouth Library. What's a Duo token?
That's what I was gonna have.
What is a Duo token?
I just wanted to wait to be recognized. So, it's one of these dual verifications to enter our computers, another type of security, security identification aspect to get into your own workstation. Some individuals, like me, for example, actually had the app on the phone. Others who either potentially didn't have a cell phone or didn't want to use a private cell phone for what could technically be a work issue would have these tokens. We have found, though, that they're a little bit cumbersome, impractical, and while not a poor security feature, a lot of the other know-before trainings and things we have on that nature that are a little bit more amenable to protect from hacking, ransomware, those type of things are the things that are a little bit more practical. So we have tokens. The issue is, A, if the board is willing to donate, and B, you need to, obviously, we would want to donate to a nonprofit who also has to be participating in this Duo type program, right? I get the city doesn't use something like this, the fire department doesn't use something like this. So in a discussion with MTSI, I said, can you look for potentially nonprofit type organizations that are using this type of thing? You know, our folks are also typically at their workstation other than a break. People have workstations. We also we also haven't had situations in the past where all of a sudden, you know, I'm hopping on Steve's computer to potentially do something nefarious. I mean, it doesn't happen like that. You know, and typically these they will time out and kind of go to sleep or whatever, and you're putting your own password back in. So they've become a little bit obsolete. These also have a 3-year battery life, so all of them are at least a year old. So there's a year off the battery life, and some are longer. So you arguably have, you know, working with Dawn on this, and again MTSI, you have a value of approximately somewhere between $750 and $1,000 if you wanted to put a monetary value on it. So when this other, going back to what I just mentioned as far as researching somebody who could be a potential recipient of this, you know, they've been kind of identified as something that would be a pretty good fit. You know, the library with the city of Falmouth. I'm not sure if it's Falmouth's a town or a city, but let's say the city of Falmouth. And that's basically the long-winded explanation. We're not using these now. They have decreased in value. They've become a little bit obsolete to what we're doing initially. Sure, a good idea and another facet of security and whatnot, but just something that's kind of become a little bit obsolete, not real practical. So that's where we are.
Do you have a motion to
Understood
approve?
now. Yeah, good, thank you.
I do have just a question. Do you have a, like a surplus goods list where you put things that you no longer, they might still be good, but you no longer need them or want them?
Well, usually with technology, I mean, most of our computers, for instance, I mean, we'll typically have them taken out of inventory. Most of them have no value, so they'll be disposed. However, let's say there might be a snowplow that may still have value to someone, or a truck, an old 450 that's not real practical for us or whatever. For those, we have typically bid out, or we've done those a multitude of times over the last 10 years because it may have a value over, you know, X amount of dollars. I think we typically...
Are you referring to circulating within the organization?
Right.
to different
So,
departments?
again, I can only refer to how we have to do it. If we have something that we no longer need, like air purifiers, I don't know, just something like that, we can't sell them and we can't give them away until we first put them on the state procurement list, which is an open list that anybody can see. And if another agency wants them, they can come and get them. It's got to be on for like 90 days, then we can give it to a nonprofit.
Commissioner, we typically have, like when I was the purchasing agent for the city, so if I had some sort of a piece of equipment that potentially, let's say was coming from the fire department, and it still could potentially, again, have some use, some value, let's say it wasn't necessarily something that was strictly to fight fires. I mean, I make a golf cart. I would go to the other departments in the city and do that. We here don't really have those interchangeable departments, so to speak. You know, like if a computer's dead, it's dead. We have no requirement to go back to the city. I mean, we're primarily funded by HUD. I'm not aware of a FUD regulation where I got to offer it to the Department of Defense. Let's say it's a pickup or something like that.
No, I just didn't know if there was a general list. We just like put it out there on a list.
Yeah,
and anybody who wants looks.
And we're actually trying to federalize and kind of, you know, have less state properties, quite frankly, but I'm not aware of any DHCD or EC,
I am not aware
OHL,
of it,
where
yeah.
I put it back on some sort of a state website. You know, nowadays, a lot of our, I mean, the state is still involved with us because of the enabling statutes. We exist because of a state statute. However, we're considered municipal employees. We're primarily funded by HUD. So I'm not aware of anywhere else. But clearly, what you're talking about on the city side, or if it was a DPW situation, hey, maybe the police or fire department could use it. We do an internal list before we would go to, in that instance, we used to do public auction over at the old incinerator.
Okay, thank you.
No, I just noticed that there is some communication here about some surplus, that went to you.
Yes,
About some surplus items in inventory about.
Did we take a final vote?
Well, we're
No, we haven't voted
do
yet.
our tokens first.
Yeah, but I'm just saying this is,
That's going to be the next.
it's also
Yeah.
basically on the same level.
Yep. Correct.
Do we have a motion on this yet?
Oh, we don't have a
Do we have a motion on this?
No, I'll make a motion to, so you're asking for permission to donate them.
Correct.
Make a motion to grant permission to donate the Duo tokens to the Falmouth Library.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Disposition declaration of surplus items.
And again, if I may, these are items recommended by a director of facilities, that they have become obsolete for our use, and he's seeking a designation, classify as surplus, to whether we're not forced to put this in the paper and bid it, but once we get a designation of surplus, you know, we could informally advertise it, we could put it on our website, we'd at least be able to move on. It's very possible that they could have some trade value, you know, in a situation where we may need something down the road, maybe a new plow blade or something of that nature, but we are here, even the combined value is under 10 grand, which is the state threshold to require some sort of an auction or at least public advertising for sale. But we can't, we don't, to my knowledge, have an exact game plan yet of exactly how we want to part with these items. However, we need a designation to at least have them as surplus, and clearly we're not looking to have it surplus just to junk, because something that's junk, we typically don't come necessarily before the board when it's got no value anymore. But these arguably have value to someone. These are book values. They are, particularly the 08 Ford is, you know, it's got wear and tear, and it's not in perfect condition. I'm far from it. But Mr. Majewski came through my capacity as the procurement officer to bring these to you and to have these declared surplus items.
We take these individually?
Yeah, we can do it. We'll do the first one. 2008 Ford F-350 stake body truck with a 9-foot Fisher plow and lift gate. It's got 100,760 miles. The estimated value from Blue Book is $4,500. You want to do that one first?
Sure. I'll make a motion to declare for surplus the 2008 Ford F-350 stake body truck with the 9-foot Fisher plow and lift gate.
Second.
Made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The second item is a Taco Highlander Junior stainless steel 9-foot gasoline-powered sander. Estimated value $1,000.
Make a motion to declare for surplus the Taco Highlander JR stainless steel 9-foot gasoline-powered sander.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Permission to advertise for a new 5-year rooftop antenna lease for Mitchell Heights. Current lease expires on January 30th, 2025. The procurement department is advertised for a new cell tower lease at Mitchell Heights for a period of 5 years in conformity with HUD federal requirements and guidelines.
Make a motion that we advertise for a new 5-year rooftop antenna lease for Mitchell Heights in conformity with HUD federal requirements and guidelines for a period of 5 years.
Second.
Made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Permission to advertise a new 5-year rooftop antenna lease for Holmes Apartment. Current lease expires January 3rd, 2025. Department to advertise for a new cell tower lease at Holmes Apartment for a period of 5 years in conformity with HUD federal requirements and guidelines.
Make a motion, grant permission to advertise for a new 5-year rooftop antenna lease for Holmes Apartments in conformity with HUD federal requirements and guidelines.
A second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
General Counsel's response to Attorney General's Division of Open Government regarding Patrick Higgins' O&O complaint. filed on 3/17/24 regarding the Fall River Housing Board meeting of 3/11/24. There's no vote required, but we could just have a discussion about it. I don't know where that stands. Mr. General Counsel, could you bring us up to date on that?
Sure.
It's an awful small file you got.
What's that? That's it.
Is he out?
Not currently, no. We have our court date on Thursday. But just with regard to this particular complaint, this is a response to the open meeting law, March 17th. I never received it. It was sent to Chairman Long's email, private email that he hadn't used in 9 years, I think, or 7 years. And so there was a complaint for not filing the response, and then another complaint, I'm sorry, for not filing that. So basically, the Attorney General's office sided with us and stated that we only have to respond to the first one, which I did in this particular complaint. And it's just self-explanatory. So, if the board has any questions, I can answer anything.
That concludes what we have as formal. Is there anything anybody else would like to discuss? Anything outstanding here? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.